In the searing heat of the Mesopotamian desert, one of the wealthiest men in history made a decision so arrogant, so reckless, that it would haunt the Roman Empire for centuries. His name was Marcus Licinius Crassus, banker, politician, general, and the man who would lead 43,000 Roman soldiers to their deaths. You've probably heard of Julius Caesar. You may even know Pompey the Great, but Crassus? Not so much. And yet, he was the third pillar of the First Triumvirate, the political powerhouse of the late Roman Republic. He made his fortune off property, corruption, and fire sales, literally. He owned firefighting crews and would buy burning buildings mid-blaze, only to rent them back to the desperate owners. Ruthless, yes. Brilliant, also yes. But Crassus wasn't satisfied with just being rich. He wanted something more. He wanted glory, military glory, the kind of legacy that made men into legends. So when he saw an opportunity to march east and plunder the riches of the Parthian Empire, he didn't hesitate. There was just one problem. No one asked him to. The Roman Senate never approved the war. He didn't have permission. He just wanted it. He raised the army himself, financed the campaign out of pocket, and marched straight into what he believed would be an easy conquest. Rome had crushed eastern kingdoms before: Pontus, Armenia, even the Seleucids. Why should Parthia be any different? First, things looked promising. Crassus crossed into Syria with a massive force, 7 legions, around 43,000 strong, backed by 6,000 cavalry and auxiliary troops. As he prepared to invade Parthian territory, King Artavasdes of Armenia made him a generous offer: take a safer route through the Armenian highlands, avoid the desert, and receive 10,000 reinforcements. A gift, a shortcut to victory. But Crassus refused. He was so eager for loot and cities to conquer that he marched straight into Mesopotamia, directly into the open desert without adequate supplies, and into land he didn't understand. He wanted to take the rich Parthian cities one by one, like picking fruit off a tree. But this tree had thorns. On the other side, the Parthian king, Oroda II, was already 2 steps ahead. He divided his army, sending the bulk into Armenia to punish them for siding with Rome. The rest, around 10,000 cavalry, was placed under the command of one of the most brilliant generals of the ancient world, Surinna. Now, Surinna was everything Crassus wasn't: young, agile, charismatic, and a master of psychological warfare. He didn't come to fight Crassus in a traditional battle. No, he came to break him, physically, mentally, and strategically. His force was entirely mounted: horse archers, elite cataphracts, and even 1,000 camels just for carrying extra arrows. This wasn't just an army, it was a mobile death machine. Crassus had no idea what was coming. By the time the 2 forces met near the town of Carrhae, the trap was already set. Crassus, nervous about being outmaneuvered, ordered his men into a massive hollow square, a traditional Roman formation designed to defend on all sides. 12 cohorts per side, strong but slow. A wall of shields with no flexibility. Surinna didn't even blink. He sent his cataphracts, a shock force of heavily armored cavalry, charging straight at the Romans, luring them into bracing for impact. But it was a trick. As soon as they got close, the cataphracts wheeled away, and the true assault began. Thousands of Parthian horse archers circled the formation, unleashing wave after wave of arrows. The sky turned black with them. The Roman shields could block a few volleys, but these weren't a few volleys. This was hours of unrelenting firepower, supplied by camel caravans bringing fresh quivers non-stop. Crassus thought they'd eventually run out. He was wrong. Desperate to break the ring of death, Crassus sent his son, Publius Crassus, a brave and ambitious young officer, with 5,000 cavalry and light infantry to drive off the archers. At first, it seemed like the plan might work. The Parthians began to retreat. Publius gave chase. He took the bait. As his force moved farther and farther from the main army, the Parthians turned. Suddenly, the horse archers stopped fleeing. The cataphracts reappeared, fully encircling Publius' men. It was a slaughter. Cut off, outmatched, and with no escape, Publius fought bravely, but it wasn't enough. When the end came, he chose suicide over capture. And then, to truly break the Roman spirit, the Parthians did something no one could have expected. They returned to Crassus with a message, delivered on the tip of a spear: his son's severed head. The Roman line, already faltering, broke apart. Morale collapsed. The cataphracts charged again. The archers kept firing. Crassus had lost control of his army, and by nightfall, What was once the might of Rome lay in the sand, bleeding, broken, and dying. That night, a few thousand survivors staggered into Carrhae, the nearest Roman-held town. Crassus was no longer in command. His officers had taken over, and they demanded retreat. They had to get out now, but it wasn't over. The next morning, the Parthians resumed their attack, cutting down the wounded and blocking escape routes. Crassus, desperate and shattered, was forced into peace talks with Surinna. The Parthians offered a deal, safe passage home, in exchange for Roman withdrawal from the east. Crassus agreed, or rather, he had to. But as he and his generals approached the negotiating table, something went wrong. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe it was a trap. Either way, Crassus was seized and killed, allegedly with molten gold poured down his throat, a final mocking tribute to his insatiable greed. The Romans tried to flee. Most didn't make it. Some were captured, others hunted down. Out of the 43,000 who had followed Crassus into the desert, 20,000 were dead. 10,000 more were prisoners, sent to the far corners of the Parthian Empire, never to return. This wasn't just a defeat. It was a catastrophe, a national trauma. Rome had lost battles before, but never like this. And yet, no triumphs were held in Parthia. No statues built in Crassus' honor. The battle that should have defined a man's legacy became his eternal shame. Rome didn't just lose soldiers at Carrhae, it lost its illusion of invincibility. Crassus died nameless, humiliated, and forgotten by history. His greed, his arrogance, his hunger for power led to one of the greatest military disasters of the ancient world. And while Caesar's name echoed through time, Crassus' story became a cautionary tale, one Rome never wanted to tell again. Because sometimes the battles that change empires are the ones they try hardest to forget.